Yo, what is up guys? Ethan here, back in another video, and today I present to you my preseason top 30. Yes, I know this is coming out later than I said, but it's at least on the same day. I'm sorry about that, but Georgia predictions still coming out Monday. Now, considering me and you, I'm not going to go into a deep dive on why certain teams are where they are. Of course, I'll give out a brief analysis, but I don't want this video to be over 30 minutes, even though this is a top 30 video. I'm just going to give like a 20-30 second reaction on why I gave that team that specific spot. And I even did a top 30. I said top 25, but I did top 30 because, to be honest, 20 and 30, you can just interchange so many teams. So it was hard to decide what specific spot there would be. If you want a deeper analysis, that's when the predictions are coming out, as I'll go into a deeper analysis on each and every team and then just predict their schedule. Like I said earlier, Georgia coming out Monday. That's going to come out around 12:30 Eastern or 5:30 Eastern. Look out for that. But without any further ado, let's hop into my top 30 entering the preseason. At number 30, I have UTSA, and excluding Tulane, they, in my opinion, are the best non-Power 5 team entering this season. And the main reason why is because of head coach Jeff Traylor, I'm an idiot, Jeff Traylor, my bad, and senior quarterback Frank Harris. I understand that you lost Akari Franklin as he did transfer to Ole Miss, but you still have a really good wide receiver core that contains a DeCorian Clark, who actually had a very underrated year last year, and a guy like Joshua Cephas. You look at this entire team, they are just filled with veterans. So, and with what they did last year, having a few top 25 appearances in some polls, I really think this is the year that UTSA does pop off onto the scene. And they do have some games that if they do win, they're going to just skyrocket in polls. They have a game at Texas. If you somehow win that game at Texas, that's going to be great for you. So I really like this UTSA team heading into this season. At 29, I have Texas A&M. And the main reason why I love this team is just a head coach, Joey McGuire. Texas Tech had their highs and lows of last year, but I think with another year under this offensive air raid scheme that Joey McGuire has, quarterback Tyler Shough is just going to absolutely dominate. You have some experience and you do have some talent. Miles Price was a very underrated wide receiver last year. Baylor Cupp is going to get way more involved in the offense this year. And if you do have a running game, Taj Brooks is going to be a really good weapon as well. This defense is just very experienced, and maybe they should have been a little higher than 29, but the overall talent of these other teams above them is why they're this low. But Texas A&M can 100% make noise with this really good coaching staff, and especially since they play in the Big 12 where anything happens, and there's always a random team that just sparks up, like TCU last year. Texas Tech could be that team this year. I'm really intrigued to see how the Red Raiders play out this year. At 28, I have Auburn, and this could be a little bit of a hot take as a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on this Auburn team. Hugh Freeze, in my opinion, is coming in and making an immediate impact. They have done tons of recent activity in the transfer portal with this wide receiver position. Jair Schroeder is going to absolutely pop off. He transferred in from North Texas. I really think he's going to have a breakout year, as this is his final year as he's a redshirt senior. This defense, they just got tons and tons of guys in the transfer portal. They do have one of the top transfer portal classes as well. As you look at this entire team, I would say almost half the team is in transfers or freshmen. The only quote-unquote real question mark is this quarterback play. You get in Peyton Horn from Michigan State. He is a senior. He does have experience, but he's very up and down, as we saw last year with MSU. And your backup is Robbie Ashford, who does have immense potential. He just hasn't put it together yet. I just think that with the new coaching staff that Auburn's brought in, I think Hugh Freeze is going to have an immediate impact, and this Auburn team is going to be ready to play day one. At 27, I have UCLA. And I understand you lost DTR. That's a huge loss. But this UCLA team, as you look at it, they might be better than last year overall as a talent scale. You have Dante Moore, who's coming in as a true freshman. We really don't even know who your starting quarterback is going to be between Dante Moore, Ethan Garbers, and Colin Shaley, who transferred in from Kent State. I think it's going to be Dante Moore, and I think it should be, but this defense is super good. Leatu, I definitely butchered his name. He's an outside linebacker. He is going to be super good this year. And you look around this team, you have tons of impact transfers on both sides of the ball that are going to have day one impacts. So I think Chip Kelly, every single year at UCLA, he keeps on getting better and better. And I understand the Pac-12 is going to be a lot more competitive this year as it's more top-oriented than usual. And overall, record-wise, this UCLA team might not be as good as last year, but this UCLA team is borderline top 25 entering this season. It really doesn't matter who the quarterback is, because I do think whoever the quarterback is, Chip Kelly's going to be confident in that guy, and they're going to have a day one impact immediately. At 26, I have Texas A&M, and I think Texas A&M is just going to be so much better than they were last year. Last year, I don't know what happened. You were just playing out booty cheeks. But this year, they're going to be a lot more improved, and you get Bobby Petrino coming in to be your offensive coordinator. And the real question is Jimbo Fisher going to let him have the offense? Because if you do, this offense could be scary. I'm a big fan of Evan Stewart, and they're only teasing with the potential he has in the offense. Anais Smith is a super underrated slot guy as well. And it just really depends who your quarterback's going to be between Connor Weigman and Max Johnson. Whoever the quarterback's going to be, we'll have a great mentor in Bobby Petrino to work it out. This defense is just super talented, with Damani Richardson, in my opinion, being that standalone guy. I've been in love with this game for the past 2 seasons now. So look out for A&M this year, as last year the main thing was just culture and coaching. The talent there is undeniable. And if they get things going, this A&M team could be scary. But you still have the culture issues, and you still have Jimbo Fisher to deal with. That's why they're barely outside the top 25 for me. At 25, we have Oklahoma. And last year was an up and down year. And I'm really curious to see what Brett Venables does with this defense. I'm really confident in Dylan Gabriel to be even better than he was last year. But he might not even get the spot because you have a true freshman behind him in Jackson Arnold, who's just balling out in training camp is what I'm hearing. But either way, I think the quarterback for Oklahoma is going to be really good this year. Their offensive line's underrated, as you do have a few transfers coming in as well. Austin Stogner is a senior coming in. So this Oklahoma team has talent. They have a really good transfer class as well, as Deshaun McCullough transfers in from Indiana. And you have a really good freshman class as well. It's just going to be down to if this offense can produce a little bit better than it did last year, even with the loss of Eric Ray. And if it does, how much better will it be? Because the Big 12 this year is going to be really tough. But I think with the overall talent, this Oklahoma team is a top 25 squad. At 24, I have Kentucky. And this Kentucky team may shock a lot of people this year. You have Devin Leary transferring in from NC State. He have that veteran experience at QB after you just lost Will Levis. And I love the two-headed monster of Baron Brown and Dane Key. Dane Key had a lot of surprising marks last year as a true freshman. He's going to not bounce back, but he's just going to improve on what he did last year. So Dane Key could low-key be a breakout superstar in college football. This defense still has guys as well. And Mark Stoops always makes sure this defense is intact. But the offense might be the main focus of this Kentucky squad. You have a new offensive coordinator coming back from the Rams. So I'm super intrigued to see this Kentucky squad with the new offense, it seems. So let's see how this Kentucky team is. And overall, just with the great coaching and a great QB and receiver core, Kentucky's in my top 20. Well, top 25. At 23, we have TCU. And TCU, in my opinion, is just one of the hardest teams to rank for the preseason. You have a lot of guys leaving this team. You have Max Duggan gone, Quentin Johnston gone. But Sonny Dykes is just assembling a really good team again. Chandler Morris was the starting quarterback before he got hurt last year. So I'm confident in Chandler Morris. Maybe not do as good as Max Duggan did last year, but will be a good starting caliber QB. You have a great receiver core still as you get in some transfers like J.P. Richardson and JoJo Earl. You get in Trey Sanders from Alabama as he's probably going to be your main running back as Kendre Miller is now in the NFL. This defense, though, is going to be a little bit of a question mark. You did lose a lot of guys, and you really didn't fill it up with talent, or in the transfer portal at least. So I'm really curious to see how this TCU defense plays out. But I'm confident in Sonny Dykes. We saw what TCU did last year. So just for that alone, they have to be my top 25. At 22, I have Iowa. And I might be higher on Iowa than a lot of people. But I just think Cade McNamara is going to actually shine in this offense. I think Iowa's finally going to break out. You're not going to score like 10 points a game now offensively. And you do have some actual weapons. I think Caleb Johnson's going to take another step forward. Caleb Brown, coming in from Ohio State. He's going to have a day one impact at that wide receiver spot. This defense is still insane with Cooper DeJean still at corner. Like, this Iowa team just got better. And even with that putrid offense last year, you still had a good season in the Big Ten. And yes, you were unwatchable last year, but you still had a good record. So now I think you get in some guys from the transfer portal. This Iowa team might shock a lot of people this year. Kurt Feinritz is really good as a head coach. He doesn't back down. He always has one of the best defenses. I really like this Iowa squad this year. So, and because of that, I have them over teams like TCU, Kentucky, OU, A&M, Auburn. And you might have Iowa under them, but I'm just higher on Iowa than most people. We'll find that out when we go into predictions. And at 21, we have Tulane. You have Michael Pratt coming back. You have a lot of that squad coming back for Tulane. I understand you lost Tyjae Spears at running back. And yes, that's going to be a big loss. But Willie Fritz is a really good head coach. I'm shocked he's still at Tulane, to be honest. This Tulane team is going to be another 10-win team again, in my opinion. You have a really good offensive line as well, very experienced. Sincere Haynesworth might be a top 3 center in all of college football, for being honest. Michael Pratt's a great QB. I'm really intrigued to see how Tulane plays out this year. And just because of that USC game alone last year, they're in my top 25. At 20, I have Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is one of the most confusing teams to put in my top 20 personally. Maybe it's because I haven't done a full deep dive on them quite yet. But there's like so much weird question mark. It's like, who's going to be the QB? Is this offense going to be elite like it was a few years ago? How's this defense going to be under Pete Golding? There's so many question marks with this Ole Miss team. But there's a few things I'm certain of. This defense will improve in some way or another, because I really do think Pete Golding is an upgrade at that DSP spot. I think Hasheem Young is going to have another great year at safety. Quinshawn Judkins, I've been on the hype train for him all of last season. He's now the face of this team. Eusebius Bentley is still here, by the way. Don't forget that. He was super underrated. He will be used. He really wasn't used last year because of Zach Evans. Look out for Eusebius Bentley as he transferred in from SMU a few years ago. And Zachary Franklin. I've been a huge fan of Zachary Franklin for I don't know how long now. He was a beast at UTSA for his entire career, and now he's transferred in. Trey Harris also transferred in. And so, like, this Ole Miss team has talent, but they're not going to be elite like this Ole Miss squad was a few years ago with Matt Corral. And the QB situation, I don't even know what's going on. Everyone would think Spencer Sanders is that number 1 QB, but from what I'm hearing, Jackson Dart is maintaining a starting spot. You still have Walker Howard, who was a 5-star quarterback transfer from LSU. He's going to be getting playing time eventually too. So I don't know what's going on with this quarterback situation. I'm just going to assume it's Jackson Dart, but this Ole Miss team has talent nonetheless. I think they did make some upgrades, but it's just going to be the question on how impactful will those upgrades actually be. At number 19, I have UNC. And a lot of people I know have a lot of question marks on this North Carolina squad. And I'm a little bit higher on UNC than most people, and I'll explain why. You have Drake May. That's literally the main thing everyone knows. You have Mac Brown, a head coach, and you have Drake May. But that's a lot of people know that, and that's really it. Drake May is going to be a Heisman favorite. I think right now has the second best odds behind Caleb Williams. I'm not exactly sure. But Drake May is going to continue to be an absolute beast. And I think Devontae Walker, the wide receiver from Kent State, that pickup is so impactful, especially on day one. I think he's going to be the #1 wide receiver immediately. And I think he's going to ball out this year with a great quarterback like Drake May under him. You still have guys like Andre Green and J.J. Jones who will still be good in this offense. And I think this running back core is actually very underrated in itself as well. Elijah Green, he's been here for multiple years. British Brooks, he's a graduate. Amarion Hampton, he had some shining moments last year as a true freshman. He will probably get more touches. So I think this overall offense is very underrated. The offensive line, it is experienced. So I think this offense might be one of the best in college football if it's still up to the level as Phil Longo had it. But that's another issue as well, as Phil Longo did go to Wisconsin. But I think this North Carolina offense might be better than last year, as crazy that sounds. The defense is the quote-unquote question mark, and yes, I do understand why. There's quite a few of quote-unquote talent issues. But this linebacking core is very good, in my opinion, led by Power Echols, in my opinion. And I think this UNC defense is going to be improved. So, yes, North Carolina might not be a top 10 team. They might not be a playoff team. But this team is a top 25 team entering this year, especially with a guy like Drake May leading the way. Talking about Wisconsin, they're my number 18. And this Wisconsin team, I don't know. I just don't like Wisconsin as a team, but I've always loved Luke Fickell. So this is going to be a little bit of a situation. I'm very curious to see how this passing attack looks under Luke Fickell. You get in Tanner Mordecai from SMU, and he's going to be your day one QB. And you also have one of the best running backs in college football in Braylon Allen. This receiving core is a little iffy, though. You got C.J. Williams and Will Pauling transferring in. You also have one of the best offensive lines in college football. I would say around top 10, top 15. And this Wisconsin defense always does stuff every single year. And now you get a defensive specialist as your head coach in Luke Fickell. So these guys are going to be even better. This culture is going to be great. And Wisconsin does have a somewhat easy schedule, so this Wisconsin team could actually have 10 wins, potentially even 11 wins, but they also could go like 7-5. It's just gonna be it's just a shot in the dark with this Wisconsin team this year on how this offense really plans out. You do have a two-headed monster running back, like I mentioned, Braylon Allen, Chez Mizzalusi. It's just gonna be about this passing attack and how this defense looks year one under Luke Fickell. If it all meshes out, Wisconsin could be above. But just with the talent or question marks offensively, I had to put them at 18. At 17, I have Oregon State. And man, oh man, as an Oregon Ducks fan, I don't like Oregon State being good. But this team, I really like this year. You have DJ transferring in from Clemson. He's going to be your day one QB. But Aiden Chiles, I don't know if I butchered his name or not. Apparently, he's having DJ have a run for his money. That's going to be interesting as he's a true freshman. He's going to be the face of Oregon State next year. He really is. Jonathan Smith is having a fantastic spree at Oregon State, and I absolutely love what he's doing. And this receiving core is very underratedly experienced, as you have Anthony Gold, Josiah Irish, Salias Bolden. And you also have one of the most underrated running backs in all college football in Damian Martinez. He is on the thumbnail for a reason. I'm in love with this Oregon State team. They're just not at, like, it's weird. It's weird in the Pac-12 this year. You have USC, Oregon, and Washington at the top. Then you have a tier lower with Utah, Oregon State. Then it's UCLA. And then the drop-off after UCLA is just insane. So the Pac-12 is just under. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the Pac-12. There's going to be so many teams beating up each other, ruining playoff chances. I can talk about this all day, but I'll get into that once we get into Pac-12 videos. But overall, really like Oregon State this year. The defense is going to be just as good as it's very experienced. Look out for the Beavers this year. At 16, I have Kansas State. And The more I think about it, I might have Oregon State at 16 and Kansas State 17 because these two teams are just so interchangeable. You did lose your main guy in Deuce Vaughn. He got drafted to the Dallas Cowboys. You do lose your starting QB in Adrian Martinez. But Will Howard's a really good quarterback. We saw him last year for when Martinez was hurt. And Will Howard definitely stepped up. So really look out for him. And to replace Deuce Vaughn, you have Treshaun Ward transferring in from Florida State. He's going to be your number one running back. So I'm really intrigued to see how this offense really plays out. Malik Knowles, your number one wide receiver, is lost, but you still have guys like Phillip Brooks. So even though Kansas State might have lost some of their main star players, they've had depth all this time. And they're going to be able to step up. Kobe Savage is one of the best safeties, period, in college football, in my opinion. He's coming back for his senior year. This Kansas State team, yes, maybe star-wise, you might have lost some, but you just got in a lot more transfers, and I really like the freshman class that Chris Kleiman's brought in. So I just think, yes, maybe Kansas State won't make the Big 12 championship again this year. They'll still be a top-level team again, though. At 15, I have Tennessee. And this Tennessee team, just like Ole Miss, I just have so many question marks. But Tennessee, I just know their talent. And that's why they're way higher than Ole Miss. You have Joe Milton coming in. You have Nico Amaliva at your QB2 as he's a true freshman 5-star. But Joe Milton, we know what he's had. He's been patient behind Hendon Hooker. He was at Michigan, and now he has his time to shine. He is one of the strongest arms in all college football. And yes, you do lose your top two receivers and Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt. But you still have a really good wide receiver core in Brew McCoy, Squirrel White, and Deontay Thornton. Your running back core, your two-headed monster at running back last year, and Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, both of them are still here. So this offense, yes, you do lose your stars. Well, superstars, as a matter of fact. Just Jalen Hyatt won Biletnikoff, and Hendon Hooker potentially could have won Heisman if he didn't get hurt. But Tennessee, you're going to take a step back. But how much of a step back is just going to be down to if the offense, how much of a dip this offense really has, and if the defense really improves at all. That's really it. But I still think this Tennessee team is a top 15 squad, especially with what we saw last year. Number 14 is Texas. And I understand this might be a little high, but I think this is finally the year Steve Sarkisian gets everything together, even though you lose Bijan Robinson. Quinn Ewers, I think, is going to take another step up, and he has all the potential in the world. You also have two great QBs in Malik Murphy and Arch Manning. I think Malik Murphy is going to take over college football soon. Look out for that. Your running backs are still okay with Jonathan Brooks and Jaden Blue. You have a fantastic wide receiver core. Xavier Worthy, Adonde Mitchell, Jordan Whittington. And then you have some true freshmen that can have day one impacts as well. And Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore, and Ryan Niblett. This defense, you've also gotten better with some true freshmen and transfers like Anthony Hill Jr. and Gavin Holmes. The secondary might be a little bit of a concern, yes, but you still have guys like Ryan Watts. And, the talent here is undeniable. If Steve Sarkisian can't do anything with this squad, he's probably gone. But the talent here for Texas is undeniable, and I actually think this is a year he gets everything together and makes the Big 12 championship game. We'll see that later. We'll see that in predictions, but I really like this Texas squad this year. At number 13, we have Utah. This Utah squad is basically getting the whole squad back together. The only exclusion maybe is Tavion Thomas. Cameron Rising's coming back for his final year eligibility. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, period. Well, top 20. This wide receiver core, in my opinion, is very underrated as well. As you have Money Parks, Devon Vele. You still have one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in college football, Brent Kuthi. This running back core is just deep. You have Jaquillian Jackson, Micah Bernard, and Jalen Glover. All three of those running backs individually are really good. And whoever's going to get that number one spot, they're going to do good. So Utah is going to be interchanging these three running backs in and out. And we already know what Kyle Whittingham has done with defenses. Yes, you lost a guy like Clark Phillips, your main guy defensively. But you just look across this Utah defense and you just see tons of fantastic players. And you're going to be like, is Clark Phillips really a huge loss? They just have so much talent. So Utah, again, is going to be competing in the Pac-12. They won it last year. So why can't they do it again, you know? So Utah, I just think it's not that they got worse. Yes, you lost Dalton Kincaid. But I just think Oregon, USC, and Washington are just getting the guys back, and they're getting better, while Utah is just staying the same. That's why Utah is the quote-unquote fourth best team in the Pac-12. At number 12, we have Notre Dame. Every time I look at Notre Dame, I just have question marks and question marks, but then I see talent, and then I love Marcus Freeman, and then I find out Sam Hartman's there. Like, you actually have a QB for once, folks. You really do. Sam Hartman is going to take this offense to a whole new level. And yet the wide receivers here are getting better. Jaden Thomas and Tobias Merriweather were both really good last year as true freshmen. Well, Jaden Thomas was a redshirt freshman, but we don't talk about that. Chris Tyree's coming back in the slot. He's coming in as a senior. You have one of the best tackles in college football in Joe Alt. And your defense looks great again. I'm a huge fan of Benjamin Morrison, who had a breakout year as a true freshman last year. He's only going to get better. And I think after 1 year as a head coach, Marcus Freeman will improve as a head coach. And he will get those losses like Marshall out of the way. I think this Notre Dame team, they're not going to make the playoff. But this Notre Dame team has the talent and still has a good coaching staff. And I still think this Notre Dame team is a top 15 squad in college football. At number 11 is Clemson. And this Clemson team is going to be very interesting to see what happens. This offense is going to be the main thing. You get Garrett Riley from TCU's offensive coordinator. This offense should be completely rejuvenated. Cade Klubnik is finally a QB, what Clemson's been waiting for the past year. Will he make that superstar jump? I don't know. I really don't. But Will Shipley's a great running back. So is Phil Maffa. The wide receiver core is still a little iffy with Bo Collins, Adam Randall. Antonio Williams did pop off last year as a true freshman. Maybe he gets better. But this defense still runs deep. Andrew Makoba, definitely butchered his name. He's great as a safety. Jeremiah Trotter, I just love him as a linebacker. Might be one of my favorite players in all college football, period. Xavier Thomas is still in the squad, which is crazy. You got Tyler Davis. This defense is just stacked. And then you got some young guys, too. Khalil Barnes is a true freshman. Peter Woods is a true freshman. And then you have Toriano Pride Jr. He's going to improve as last year was his freshman year. It's really going to be down to how much are these young guys going to develop. Because they're really going to need these young guys to develop and develop quickly if Clemson wants to be a potential playoff contender this season. They could be a playoff contender, but it's just going to be down to if Cade Klubnik actually takes that step up like Clemson fans think. This video is going on for a little bit longer than I thought, so I'll speed it up, especially since these are going to be the teams that you see first in the prediction videos as well. Number 10, I have Oregon. I'm an Oregon fan. I can go on a deep dive for over 30 minutes about this team, but I'm going to keep it short. Dan Lanning had a great first year, and this offense should be improved. I was a believer that Kenny Dillingham, yes, he did bring out the best in this offense. The loss of him is getting overhyped. In many games, he sold it. So I think this offense is going to be perfectly fine. You get Bo Nix back at QB. He's a Heisman candidate. Bucky Irving, Troy Franklin. You get transfers like A.J. Cornelius and Tez Johnson. Josh Connolly Jr. was a 5-star tackle. He's finally getting that spot. He's going to have a breakout year. The defense, we get in transfers like Jordan Birch, Justin James, and Evan Williams. And you still have some really good players left over from last year like Brandon Dorless, Casey Rogers, Jeffrey Bassa, and Trekwise Bridges. I always butcher his name. I suck at names, as you learned that already. The only issue is teams in the Pac-12 are just better than Oregon, and they might have better staffs, arguably. So, and yes, Oregon might have an even tougher schedule than these other teams. And even though Oregon has tons of good players, they do have that limit of superstars when you look at the rest of this top 10 list. So, yes, I can say confidently that Oregon might be better than teams like Notre Dame, Utah, Texas, and Clemson. I don't know if they are better than teams like Alabama, Penn State, and Washington, which we'll get to now. As number 9, I have Alabama. And this Alabama team is, there is so many question marks. It's beyond belief. Nick Saban, you are a top 2 head coach. It's you and Kirby Smart and nobody else. But this quarterback situation is getting scary, man. I was a big believer of Jalen Milroe. But from what I'm hearing, him and Ty Simpson were not looking good in training camp, so much that you had to get Tyler Buchner in there. And Tyler Buchner was not good to Notre Dame. You can ask Notre Dame fans this. He was not that good. So if you have to get him in for a QB competition, things are getting scary. Jace McClellan, yes, he's good, but he's just not as good as Jahmyr Gibbs. I forgot Jahmyr Gibbs. My bad. I think Justin Haynes might even have a better chance of breaking out. I love Justice Haynes. But this wide receiver core is a little skeptical. Yes, Ja'Cory Brooks is good. You have Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton. But there's no superstar. You have a great offensive line, and you have one of the best defenses in college football. Kool-Aid McKinstry and Dallas Turner are superstars. And this is Nick Saban we're talking about here. Alabama is going to be a top 10 team no matter what. It's just with the playmakers and QB situation offensively that I'm beyond skeptical with this Alabama team. And that's why I have not teams in the own SEC like Georgia and LSU over them, because if Alabama had a QB and at least one playmaker that I was confident in, they would be a top 5 team. But I'm just looking at this depth chart. I'm just not buying anything. So, yes, Alabama is a top 10 team. They're number 9, but it's going to get a little rough in Tuscaloosa for this season. At number 8, I have Penn State. And you already know I'm a big fan of Drew Allar and Nick Singleton. Katron Allen, too. I forgot to mention him. This Penn State team was 10-2 last year, and they were good. And now they're getting a lot of guys back. Yes, you did lose a few guys. Yes, you did, like Parker Washington and your starting quarterback, Sean Clifford. But to be honest, losing Sean Clifford could be a W for you guys, as you got Drew Allar in. You get Dante Cephas, a wide receiver transfer coming in from Kent State. I love Dante Cephas at Kent State. He was super good there. And now he's on a bigger stage, so I'm happy to see the production of what he's going to do go up. This offensive line is really good. You do lose Juice Scruggs, but this offensive line is really good. And this defense is just super good as well. Abdul Carter was a phenomenal player year 1. Chop Robinson transferred in from Maryland last year and was really, really good. Kalen King was super good. This defense did lose some guys, but there's still a lot of great players on this defense. But the offense is going to be the main thing for this Penn State team. If Penn State can at least beat Michigan or Ohio State, they have a chance to make the playoff. And matter of fact, all 10 of these teams do have legit chances to make the playoff, in my opinion. If Drew Allar is that superstar that everyone thinks he is, and Nick Singleton or Katron Allen make that step up, this is going to be scary. This Penn State team could be scary, but next year, oh my gosh, that's going to be something else. But Penn State this year, I really like it. Look out for Penn State. Number 7 is Washington, and I'm an Oregon fan, and I'm in love with this Washington team, as much as that hurts to say. If you are a diehard fan, you know how much I love Michael Penix. In his Indiana days before COVID, I've been a fan of this man, and he just keeps getting better. So yes, even though I hate Washington, I just love the players on this team. I love Michael Penix. Rome Odunze is one of my favorite players in college football. Both of them are, actually. Rome Odunze is the second best receiver in college football, in my opinion, outside of Marvin Harrison at Ohio State. That might be a hot take, it might not. You also look at these wide receivers. Jalen McMillan is your slot. He's returning. Jalen Polk, he's coming back. You have Cameron Davis at running back coming back. And you have some really good guys defensively. This Washington team, in my opinion, is getting a little underhyped. Well, not hyped, well, underranked. Because I'm seeing them a lot in that 9, 10, 11, 12 range. I think they're a top 8 team. And when I think who would win, Penn State or Washington, I'm going to take Washington. Because I'm more confident in that offense, led by Kalen DeBoer. This air raid scheme he has is perfect. It really is. So if all Washington needs to do is beat USC and beat Oregon. Well, I'm talking a little bit too much. I'm going to calm down here. But Washington is a top 8 team. Personally, number 7. Number 6 is USC. Just USC Washington, the game is going to be something else. You have Caleb Williams returning. Best quarterback in college football. Won the Heisman last season. You have a great wide receiver core. Mario Williams, Dorian Singer transfers in from Arizona. Zachariah Brandt's a true freshman. You got Brendan Rice. You still got Lincoln Riley leading a great offense. A Lincoln Riley offense is always good. You get Marshawn Lloyd transferring in from South Carolina. The issue is the defense. If Alex Grinch can't have a good defense this year, he should be fired. If USC is not good this year, it's because of the defense. Eric Gentry is one of the best linebackers in college football, in my opinion. You get in some transfers like Anthony Lucas and Bear Alexander and Mason Cobb. They could have day one impacts, but Alex Grinch needs to figure that out. The secondary is a little shaky. I will have to say that. But this is one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in college football. This USC team it's going to be really good. They are. They just have to put the stuff together. At number 5, I have Florida State. They done so much in the transfer portal, man. Keon Coleman is a phenomenal pickup. I've loved him at Michigan State. You get Jaheim Bell, one of the best tight ends in college football. And you get Fentel Cypress transferring in from Virginia. You just got 3 of the top 20 transfer portal guys. That's insane. You get Jordan Travis coming back. You get Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili coming back. Johnny Wilson coming back. Like, this team is really good. They shocked a lot of people. Oh, Jared Verse. How could I forget him? One of the best edge rushers, period, last season. He's returning for another year when he very easily could have declared for the NFL draft. This linebacking core is insane. Like, this Florida State team's really good. They're my favorites in the ACC over Clemson, and they have legit chances to make the college football playoff. Even if you lose a game, because you have LSU week 1 as well. You just have to believe in Mike Norvell and make sure they are just as good as this year, and then make sure those new transfers are meshing really well. That's all Florida State really has to do. At number 4, I have Ohio State, and in my opinion, the top 4 is the top 4. And you can really order it, well, in general, this is the top 10. And you can order it in any way, but this is my order. I really don't know if one of these quarterbacks are going to pop off. I really don't. Well, it's Ryan Day we're talking about. But it's just not going to be to the level as C.J. Stroud, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, all those guys. I don't see that coming out of Kyle McCord, Devin Brown, at least this season. You have a 2-headed monster at running back in Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson. You have Marvin Harrison, who should have won Blankoff last year. He is the best wide receiver in college football. Emeka Ibuga, I definitely butchered his name. He's a top 5 receiver in college football. Julian Fleming's really good as well. You have the best receiver core, period, in college football. You lose a few guys on the offensive line, but this defense should be immensely improved. Tommy Eichenberg is one of the best middle linebackers in college football. You get Davison Iguson, transferred from Ole Miss. He's going to have a day 1 impact. And just look at this defensive line, man. It's going to be really good. So it's going to be weird that a team that's known offensively is going to have to rely a lot more defensively, in my opinion, this year for big-time wins. Because Ohio State has 3 games they can lose this year. Michigan, Penn State, and Wisconsin. You just got to beat 2 of the 3 to have a chance for the playoff. At number 3, I have LSU. And I'm a lot higher on LSU than a lot of people. Jaden Daniels I've always loved since his Arizona State days. Maybe it's because I was forced to love him because he ruined Oregon's playoff chances in 2019. We're not talking about that now, though. Really underrated wide receiver core. Malik Neighbors is on the thumbnail for a reason. Super underrated wide receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., Kyron Lacey, Aaron Anderson. Really good wide receivers. You have one of the best offensive lines in the SEC. And this defense is getting a lot of returners back. You do lose a few guys, but you do get a lot of guys returning. And also you got very busy in the transfer portal, bringing in some top-tier guys. Omar Spites, one of the best linebackers last year for Oregon State. You get him in the transfer portal. I really, really like this LSU squad. I really do. And they were really good last year. I'm not going to say they're better. They could be, but right now I'm not going to say anything. But I really like this LSU squad. And maybe it's because I'm more confident in Brian Kelly than Ryan Day, and that's why I have LSU over Ohio State. But if you have Ohio State 3 and LSU 4, I'm going to be perfectly fine with that. But I just think coaching-wise, LSU has the advantage. Number 2 and number 1, I'm not really going to talk about as it's basically unanimous. Number 2 is Michigan. Really good offense, really good defense. One of the best coaching staffs, period, led by Jim Harbaugh. Made the playoff. You just got to win a playoff game. And number 1, Georgia. You're defending champs. One of the best defense in college football. You get a lot of guys coming back. You get a few transfers like Dominic Lubbock and Rob Thomas to improve your receiver core. Yes, you do lose Stetson Bennett at QB. You get Carson Beck. I think he's going to do fine. And you have the best tight end in college football in Brock Bowers. Georgia is going to go to the playoff again unless there's some severe injuries or something going on. And Kirby Smart is the best head coach in college football right now. And that is it for this video. If you want me to go in more depth with your team, comment below. Or just wait for the prediction video. Like I said in the beginning of the video, Georgia predictions coming out sometime Monday. Look out for that. Like, share, subscribe, folks. I love all you. And have a good day. Peace out.